For the longest time, the most versatile and used outdoor cooking tool was the cast iron Dutch oven. Originally invented in the 1600s, gaining prominence primarily in the Netherlands, hence the name Dutch oven, these things served to feed the Continental Army during the American Revolution, moved westward with the settlers, and were an integral part of the Lewis and Clark expedition of discovery. More recently, Dutch oven cooking has gained popularity in the U.S. as camping, overlanding, and outdoor activities have gained prominence. Welcome back to Dickin' Around Outdoors. If you've watched our channel, you know that we love to cook outdoors and we love to use cast iron Dutch ovens, primarily by Lodge. They are the one made in the USA. In my last video on Dutch ovens, I talked about the two different styles of Dutch ovens for outdoor cooking. And in that video, I actually made the comment that I felt that aluminum Dutch ovens were a stretch when it came to outdoor cooking, particularly in cold weather. And as luck would have it, right after that video, GSI Outdoors agreed to send me one of their anodized aluminum camp Dutch ovens to test. Now, how could I say no to that after I had just said that I felt that they weren't the best choice? And today is the perfect day to test my hypothesis because it's 26 degrees here and the wind chill takes it down to 17. We're going to test how this aluminum Dutch oven will perform in a cold and somewhat windy day to see if this aluminum can hold the heat and cook like we want it to. So let me introduce you to the 12-inch GSI anodized aluminum Dutch oven. So in order to compare these ovens, I want to specify that GSI on their 12-inch oven only has one size, unlike Lodge, which has the bread oven and the deep oven. So the GSI is effectively almost identical in size to the shallow 12-inch Lodge. These are both 6-quart Dutch ovens, but there are some slight distinctions, but you'll see that there's many more commonalities. So first off, the handle on the Dutch oven from Lodge is a single handle. It's very well balanced. You can carry this oven with one hand with no problem. The GSI has two handles coming from each side, and that is to balance the oven when you hold it so that it doesn't tip. For whatever reason, the aluminum oven doesn't balance as well as the cast iron. The second thing is you'll notice that the Lodge has slightly taller legs. Dimensionally, that's about the only difference. Both of these are about 4 inches deep. Both hold 6 quarts. But a major difference is that the GSI oven weighs 7 pounds, 14 ounces. The Lodge cast iron Dutch oven weighs 18 pounds. So from a weight standpoint, the GSI is dramatically lighter, and it is amazing when you lift it up how much lighter it really feels. And you can see how light this oven is when I lift it up with one hand. For today's test, we're going to do two things. We're going to bake some biscuits inside this oven. We're also going to fry some Spam just to see if stuff is sticking. Now, I did cook in the GSI when I first got it inside on the stove. I just fried up some potatoes that we had. The first batch did have a lot of sticking, but with a little water and heat, it cleaned right up with no problem. And the second time, much less sticking, and everything that was on it after it cooled down just scraped right off. So I'm expecting it to not stick, but let's get some charcoal going. Let's get this thing heated up, and let's fry some Spam and cook some biscuits. For our first test, we've decided to bake some biscuits. These are just simply Pillsbury Grands out of a roll from the refrigerator. We've got our charcoal lit and ready to go, and we've got our biscuits in the Dutch oven. So what we're going to do, this is supposed to cook at 375. So we're going to use, since I've not used this before, we're going to use the cast iron ratio, which is going to be 27 coals, 9 on the bottom, 18 on top. So let's get that done. We're going to cook these 12 to 16 minutes, as that is what the recipe says. We're going to be rotating this Dutch oven as we cook to make sure we don't have hot spots. And we'll check it after about 12 minutes just to see how they look. 12 minutes is up. Let's go ahead and check these. I doubt they're done yet because the oven had to heat up, but we're going to have a look just to make sure, since I've not used aluminum before and it will heat up faster. Let's just look and see how these look. Oh, definitely rising, but they're not there yet, so I'm going to set this timer for another 5 minutes at least and see how they look. So I think in the Biscuit Cook we have learned something about this Dutch oven. I'm going to do a wrap up at the end. We're now 32 minutes in, and I think these things are ready to come out, at least the top. They're nice and brown on top. Maybe a couple minutes longer, but I'm going to go ahead and take these out. They smell really good. They're browned on top. I didn't want to let them go any longer. I didn't want to take a risk of burning the bottom if we haven't. So let's see how the bottom looks. No sticking at all, coming right up. The bottom looks great. I think this did a great job. But as I said, we did learn a lesson. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get this on a trivet. We've got some more charcoal going. We're going to do Spam both in the Dutch oven and on the lid. We're going to see if this does the same thing as a cast iron lodge where you can cook on the lid. And I'm a bit skeptical. And again, in the wrap up, I'll tell you why, but we're going to test it. And we're going to put the Dutch oven on the trivet because we need a decent amount of horsepower to fry. And as you can see on these charcoal briquettes, this is something else when you're using a Dutch oven to be aware of. If you come in and look at these briquettes, the small one are the Kingsford, the large ones are the B&B. Briquettes do make a difference, so I prefer to use the B&B. I had some extra Kingsford, that's why we used it, but the B&B will definitely burn longer. One thing I did point out on my last camping Dutch oven video, which I'm going to post right here, is that aluminum was at a disadvantage in cold weather because of its heat conductivity. So if you notice, we have a ton of charcoal under this oven, but we also have some cold and some breeze. So I'm going to hit that with my temperature gun. Now, I don't know if emissivity of the aluminum is going to make any difference, but if you can see, with all that charcoal, I'm only getting 240 degrees. I would expect that to be somewhere up in the 350s. So what does that mean? It means that everything is taking longer to cook, or you would really need to load charcoal or put this over a campfire to get the hot kind of heat in here that it retained the heat. But I'll talk about that more when I wrap up in the end. So it did take time to get this browned, but as you can see, it definitely browned. And I can tell that there is a biscuit just waiting to be filled with one of these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lid. I'm going to cook the last 2 pieces of Spam on the lid and see if that will work as a fry pan. All right, we've been cooking Spam on the lid as a fry pan for a bit now. We've checked the temperature on this coal bed, and I'm getting 260 degrees, and the Spam is cooking slowly. It is browning, but it's taking a long time. And if you can see, the 2 pieces of Spam do not cover the surface of this, obviously. But what I think is happening is this aluminum transfers heat so rapidly, the heat is dispersing and leaving the pan so quickly that it's not heating up. So after the testing, what do I think about the GSI Anodized aluminum Dutch oven, and how does it compare with our Lodge Dutch ovens that we normally use? First off, the advantages of the aluminum Dutch oven: clearly weight. At 60% lighter than the Lodge, this thing is a featherweight. You can lift it up with one hand. When you're carrying it when it's full, it's much lighter. So that is a huge benefit. And of course, if you're walking or canoeing or anything like that and want to take a Dutch oven, this thing would be so much easier. Number two, it's super easy to clean. Now, this being anodized, it means the surface is very strong. You could easily clean this with Clorox or Barkeeper's Friend, and there's no maintenance. There's no seasoning to be done with this. There's no chance that this can be left out and rust. So it's maintenance free, it's lightweight, super easy to clean up. And candidly, the surface was very non-stick. Nothing, the biscuits didn't stick, the Spam didn't stick, so super easy to cook in. Where do I think this has a disadvantage versus the cast iron? Well, as we saw, the ability of this oven to grab heat, capture it, and not let it go is less than there is in a cast iron Dutch oven. So from an efficiency standpoint, I think this is less efficient, meaning you would need more heat, particularly in the kind of weather we saw today. Now, if I had been out and about just cooking, I would have had a wind block up. So this was a test in the wind. It's not a test of how I would cook. But regardless of that, in this temperature, this oven requires more heat, which means more fuel to cook than a cast iron oven, because it captures heat faster, but it also releases heat faster. So you need more fuel to keep heat in the oven. And I think that's the biggest disadvantage of this oven versus the cast iron. And one other thing, I know some people are sketchy about cooking in aluminum. This being anodized, it removes those worries because this has a very hard surface. In fact, it's harder than stainless steel. You're not cooking directly on aluminum. Now, does that mean that I would say always buy cast iron? No, not at all. And it surprises me because after my last aluminum oven test, which was my Woody, if you want to check it out, it's here, I was pretty much, well, I'd given up on aluminum. I really like this Dutch oven. I liked cooking in it, but in really cold weather, you're going to have to fuel it much higher. And I'm going to have to test that. I'm going to have to play around with it. Do you normally say if you want to cook at 375, should you put 425 worth of coals on this? I don't know. I have to check it. But there will be a level of coals that this will cook at. The shape of it being the same as the Lodge, I really like this shape. The handles, I know that in the past, the GSI have been dinged because they were unstable with the single handle. So they've changed that. Originally, I thought this might be kind of a detriment, but it's very easy to get your lid lifter in there. All you have to do is lift up one side, lift the other, and you can put it right together. So it works really easy. So would I recommend this? Oh, one other thing. This oven is $139.99. The Lodge Dutch oven list price is $85. So from a cost standpoint, aluminum is more expensive than cast iron. So if price is an issue, clearly cast iron has the advantage. So where would this have the advantage? Again, if you need the lightweight, if you're canoeing, if you're walking a long distance, if you're in a humid environment where your cast iron could rust, this doesn't have that problem. So they're very popular with rafters. Would I recommend this? Yes. Would I recommend it specifically if you need the advantages of this oven, which are the weight and the low maintenance and easy cleaning? Then absolutely I would recommend this oven. Would I recommend this oven for normal situations over cast iron? No, I wouldn't. Cast iron's cheaper, it's more efficient, do have to maintain it, so there is that. So anyway, that's my thoughts. The GSI 12-inch anodized aluminum Dutch oven. It's a great Dutch oven. Just, you're going to have to learn how to use it if you're used to cast iron. But other than that, I would highly recommend this oven. And if you like this kind of content, please take a moment to hit that sub button in the lower right-hand corner. Give us that thumbs up. And share this with your like-minded friends. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. So if you have an opinion on these ovens, I'd love to hear it. And as always, take care, and we'll see you outdoors.